Hello friends, and welcome to today's episode. When a boss sees a waitress taking pizza slices from his restaurant, he yells at her. He is surprised that she broke the rules, but he doesn't know that he will soon regret firing her. John was 43 years old when he bought a pizza place from the previous owner. The cafe was known for its unique tastes and friendly service, and John thought that would help him make millions of dollars. John got the good name of the pizza, as well as a trained staff and a well-equipped restaurant area. He didn't have to start his business from scratch, but when he bought a restaurant that was already open, it cost him a lot. Samantha, a kind 24-year-old waitress, was one of the workers. She had worked at the pizzeria for a year and knew everything that went on behind the scenes to keep the business running well. But John never paid attention when she told him what she had learned. One day, he was eating pizza in his car as his staff got ready to close for the day. Two teenagers knocked on his window while he was eating and watching a movie on his phone. "Sir, we're hungry," yelled one of them. "Could we please have some pizza that was left over?" When John got mad, he yelled at the kids and told them to leave right away. At the same time, Samantha saw her new boss yell at the kids, so she went outside and told John about a practice at the diner. "My old boss always told us to feed the hungry because he thought that being kind helped his business grow," she said with a smile. "It was always done to give leftovers to the po. No more useless customs," John said. "I decide how this place is run. Do you understand?" John got out of his car and pushed the two teens away while putting the food in the trash. "This is where the leftovers should go," he told them in a firm voice. As she went into the restaurant, Samantha shook her head. She was sad, but it wasn't the first time her new boss had turned down one of her ideas. Several days ago, she told him about another custom, but John didn't like it. She told him, "We always write a note of encouragement for our customers and give it to them with their order. We just wanted to make their day better with this simple act. Our clients love it." "Oh, come on." John's eyes rolled. "I'm not here to sell ideas. I'm here to sell food. I won't keep doing such pointless things." After John bought the business, he changed a few of the rules. He told the staff they couldn't give extra to the po, and he also told them how many slices they could take home. "No one can go home with more than one piece. Do you get it?" he asked them the first day. Samantha was sad that John was getting rid of so many good things, but she didn't let it get in the way of her work. She kept being the happy, friendly waitress who was always nice to her coworkers. Samantha's bubbly nature made everyone at the place like her. She told everyone that she was saving money for a cross-country trip. The little girl dreamed of going on a trip one day, but she didn't know that her life was about to change in a big way. John was very strict about the rules, so he went to the kitchen often to make sure no one was stealing pizzas. When he walked into the kitchen one day, he was shocked to see a maid breaking the rules. Samantha was putting 4 pieces of pizza in her bag when he saw her. He yelled at her, "My office. Right now," and walked back to his office. He yelled, "I know you have been stealing leftovers, Samantha. The most important rule was broken. You took 4 pieces of pizza because you thought no one was looking. But I wasn't going to take them home with me," she said. "I wanted to give them to the boys who were hungry. The food would be thrown away anyway. Why not feed people who are hungry? There's nothing to lose. Samantha, don't tell me what to do," John moaned. "Didn't you come into my office to tell me something? I can't deal with your ideas that don't make sense. Why don't you work for a group that helps people? I'm firing you anyway." "What?" Samantha gave a gasp. She could see her dreams fall apart right in front of her. "I know how much you need this job, and that's why I'm firing you," John said. Samantha asked her boss John not to fire her, but he didn't listen. Soon, he fired the rest of the staff and hired new ones. But this hurt the image of his restaurant. He didn't know that the team he fired was the best thing he had. When his employees left, the mood in his diner turned sad. The regulars knew something was wrong, but they never said anything because the food was still good. John sometimes missed his old workers because he didn't have to train them. On the other hand, he couldn't complain that his new workers needed a lot of training. He did want Samantha and her friends to leave. After all, John worked hard to grow his business, but his pride kept him from apologizing to his old workers and hiring them back. He did everything he could to make things work, but the number of people coming to his pizzeria went down a lot. A few months later, He was driving home from his pizza shop when he saw a long line of people in front of a new food truck selling pizza. He was sure he hadn't seen this new place before, so he parked his car and walked over to see what all the fuss was about. As he got closer to the food truck, he could see Samantha and the two poteens inside. John wanted to go to the front of the line to talk to his former employee, but the people in line wouldn't let him. "Hey, don't cut in line," yelled an old woman at John. This made him feel so bad that he wanted to get in his car and leave. John went back to his business the next day. He sat down in one of the seats and waited for the first customer to come in, but no one came in until much later that day. A couple walked into the diner and looked around at all the empty places. One of the waiters quickly walked toward them and invited them in, but they turned around and headed for the door. The girl told her boyfriend, "Let's go to the food van around the corner. I don't like it here." Even though it seems like no one comes here, there is always a long line in front of that food truck. As soon as John saw the couple leave his restaurant, his dreams turned into sadness. Even though he didn't want them to leave, he couldn't do anything to stop them. He realized all of a sudden that the woman he had fired from his business was now a rival. People were talking about Samantha's food truck, and he couldn't stop his possible buyers from going there. When John got home that night, he couldn't stop thinking about Samantha. He felt bad about firing her and thought he should have done what she said to keep the restaurant's customs going. Tomorrow I should talk to her. John thought, I should say sorry for firing her. In the end, that little girl was right. The next morning, John left his house, but instead of going to his pizza, he drove to Samantha's food truck. Since it was daytime, there was less of a lineup outside the van than normal. John waited in line to talk to Samantha when it was his turn. "Oh, John," she said when she saw her old boss standing with some of her guests. "How are things with you? Can we talk?" John waved his hand and asked if she had a few minutes for him. She said, "Sure," and got out of the van. "I'm sorry, Samantha," John said as he turned away from her. "Since you left, a lot less people have been coming to my restaurant. It seems like people went to the pizza place because of you." "Oh, no, that's not true." Samantha had a laugh. "Well, it seems like that's the truth," John said. "How long have you been in business?" "I like the idea a lot." "Well, I decided not to work for anyone else after you fired me," Samantha said. "Since I knew how to make pizzas, I thought it would be a good idea to start a food truck." "What's going on with the money?" John was interested. "I am sure you couldn't have saved up so much money to buy a truck and all these supplies." Samantha said, "My uncle helped me take out a loan. He is such a nice guy. He was a big help to me through the whole thing. And I knew that these boys would never tell me no, so I hired them to help me out. So far, everything has been good." John raised his eyes and smiled as he looked over her shoulder and saw two young boys serving pizzas to everyone. "So, what's your big secret?" He gave me a smile. "What's the key to the success of your small business?" "I just do what I'm best at, which is to treat people the way I wanted to be treated," she said with a smile as she gave him a free pizza and a note. "Treat and love others like yourself," the note said. John was hit by a wave of sadness all at once. He could feel his cheeks getting hot and red. He tried to eat a piece of pizza, but it wouldn't go down. He asked himself, "What have I done?" John couldn't stop thinking about Samantha's food truck and how her increased confidence made her eyes shine after he got home that day. He liked how hard she worked, so he chose to meet her again. He went to Samantha's house the next day and asked if he could drive her to work. "I wanted to talk to you, Samantha," he told her. When Samantha got in his car, he told her what he was thinking. "Samantha, I'd like to bring you and your coworkers back on. I did something wrong and wanted to make it right," he said while driving. "Well," Samantha was at a loss for words. He said with excitement, "I'll hire you as the manager, and I'll pay you a lot more than you do now. I'll also hire those guys." "But why would you want to do that?" Samantha didn't understand. "I want my old, popular pizza place back, and I think you and your coworkers can help me get there," he said in response. "But there's another thing." "What's that?" Samantha asked out of interest. "We can use your van to travel across the country and sell pizzas," he said. "I know you've always wanted to travel, and I think this is the best way for you to make that happen. I know you'll like it." "Well, I will think about it," Samantha replied. "John, I'll get back to you. Thanks for taking us there." John saw Samantha get out of his car and start walking toward her food truck. He felt better after telling her about his idea, and he was sure she would like it. The next week, after Samantha got a job as a manager, John called his old workers and asked them to come back to work at his diner. John was glad to see everyone again, and he chose to keep up the routines he had been against before. He often gave free food to poor people, which gave him a sense of joy he had never felt before. It helped him understand why Samantha was so nice to him and his brother. After a few months, John's Pizza was one of the best places to eat in town. People from nearby towns also went there and loved the pizzas, as well as the people who lived there. John looked back on his life after seeing his business grow and understood that his pride would have led him to be alone in the end. He was glad that life had given him a second chance and that he had chosen to be kind instead of rude. He thought that being kind would make him happy in the long run. That's it for today, friends. Please let us know what you think about this story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon for more amazing stories.